Jaden Calloway woke before the twin suns rose above the horizon. His quarters were dim, and the soft hum of the palace generators filled the room. He sat up in bed, heart pounding. No human had slept here for decades. A single red light blinked on his holo terminal. He pressed the power icon, and the screen brightened. The seal of the Silurian Empire floated at its center, a crystal lotus with 9 petals. Below it, a single line of text scrolled in glowing script. Your presence is requested. By order of Her Majesty, the Alien Queen. Jaden felt a thrill of pride mixed with a cold knot of fear. He rose quickly and dressed in his black envoy uniform. The fabric was light but warm, woven from human Venerian fibers. As he buckled his sash, he thought of the stories his grandfather had told him about the Silurians, silent tribunals, and swift justice. The corridor outside was empty. Jaden's footsteps echoed on polished stone as he made his way to the landing pad. Servitors hovered in alcoves, sleek machines with violet lenses that scanned him as he passed. He gave a curt nod to each one. No one spoke. In Silurian palaces, silence held as much power as speech. At the pad, a shuttle waited. Its hull gleamed silver under the pale light. Jaden stepped inside and took the single pilot's seat. The doors slid shut, and the engines whispered to life. He let out a slow breath and tried to steady his nerves. Through the viewport, the castle spires climbed into the mist. White marble pillars and floating banners lined the approach, casting long shadows on the gardens below. Even at dawn, the place felt alive with mystery. Jaden recalled how humans once feared this world's mind-reading priests. Yet here he was, summoned by the Queen herself. The shuttle rose smoothly, guided by hidden grav drives. Jaden felt weightless for a moment as they left the landing pad. His stomach tightened. He reviewed his briefing one last time. The Queen grants audience only when ancient bonds are at stake. You must be cautious, yet open. He tapped the holoscreen. A map of the inner palace glowed. 3 security rings, endless corridors, and the great throne hall at the center. He would soon walk beneath its vaulted dome. No human had crossed that threshold since the last Treaty of Viridian. Below him, the palace grounds fell away in a tapestry of jade gardens and glass-bottomed fountains. Strange flowers bloomed in midnight blue, their petals reflecting starlight still clinging to the air. Jaden wondered what reason the Queen had for calling him. As the shuttle slipped through the final gate, Jaden straightened his uniform and smoothed his hair. His pulse raced, but his voice remained calm. He would meet the Queen with respect and honesty. Whatever awaited him in the throne hall, he would face it as humanity's envoy, and prove that humans still held their place among the stars. Jaden stepped off the shuttle onto a vast marble platform. 2 tall Silurian guards in shining silver armor stood at attention. Their smooth helmets showed no faces, yet Jaden sensed their eyes on him. He bowed low and felt the soft hum of their grav boots as they returned the gesture. Wordlessly, they turned and led him down a gentle slope toward the palace's inner ring. Jaden's boots made quiet taps on the polished floor. He kept his pace steady, his chest tight with both pride and nervous wonder. The corridor ahead was long and wide. High arches curved overhead like the inside of a whale's rib cage. Pale light shone from slim crystals embedded along the walls. Between each crystal, delicate tapestries of living moss grew, glowing faintly in shades of green and blue. Jaden touched one panel gently. It felt warm, almost like skin. The living walls seemed to breathe around him. He thought of human gardens back on Earth, wild and messy by comparison. Here, every petal and leaf followed a silent, exact design. As they walked, Jaden recalled the embassy's last report. Silurian scholars had studied human art and music for years, yet no envoy had ventured this deep into the citadel since the Treaty of Viridian. He imagined the court's gossip. Did they see him as a curiosity or a threat? The guards guided him past tall pillars carved with scenes of ancient battles and peaceful treaties. Each carving showed humans in heroic poses, standing side by side with Tylarians. Jaden felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this journey would renew that old bond. A low hum announced the opening of a second set of doors. Jaden stepped forward into the palace's central courtyard. It was open to the sky, where twin moons still hung like pale lamps. Fountains with glass walls rose from checkered marble floors, sending water dancing into the air. On islands of polished stone, alien lilies with silver leaves opened their blossoms. Jaden inhaled the cool floral air. He saw courtiers in elegant robes move like dancers between columns. Everyone paused to watch him pass, but no one spoke. His presence was both welcome and strange. At the far end of the courtyard, the path rose in broad steps to a grand archway. Beyond it lay the throne hall, where the alien queen awaited. Jaden's guard stopped and bowed once more. He stepped up the stairs, each footfall echoing softly. The arch framed a dark corridor, lit only by distant lanterns. Jaden straightened his uniform, took a slow breath, and crossed the threshold. Ahead lay the greatest moment of his life, and the mystery that would change both human and Tylarian fate. Jaden's boots made no sound as he entered the throne hall. The room stretched before him like a giant shell turned inside out. Tall columns of pale stone arched up to a vaulted ceiling painted with scenes of distant stars. Along the walls, narrow windows let in soft light from the twin moons, casting long silver shadows across the floor. At the far end, on a raised dais, sat the alien queen. Her throne was carved from a single crystal block, its facets catching every beam of light and scattering rainbows across the hall. She wore a flowing robe of deep violet, embroidered with threads of starlight that pulsed gently in time with her breath. Around her, courtiers in muted robes stood in silent rows, their faces hidden by smooth masks. Only the queen's pale face was visible. Her skin looked almost translucent, and her eyes shone like polished onyx. Jaden felt his heart pound. He had faced enemy commanders, stormed fortified bunkers, and negotiated peace in the worst war zones on Earth. Yet standing here before an alien monarch felt more daunting than any battlefield. He paused a few steps from the dais, raised his head, and bowed deeply, keeping his back straight. His voice sash brushed the marble floor. A hush fell over the hall. Even the soft hum of the palace's life support systems seemed to fade. The queen watched him without a flicker of emotion. Jaden held the bow as long as he dared, then rose. He kept his gaze lowered, but he felt her eyes follow every move. After a moment, the queen raised a slender hand. A faint chime echoed as she spoke in a voice clear and calm. "Ambassador Calloway," she said, each word carrying authority and grace. "You honor my court this morning." Her tone was polite, but Jaden sensed an undercurrent of urgency. He bowed again, then straightened. "Your Majesty, it is my privilege to serve as humanity's envoy." His voice was steady. He had prepared phrases and gestures in the Tylarian tongue, but now he relied on simple honesty. The queen inclined her head slightly. Courtiers relaxed their poses but did not speak. She studied Jaden for a long moment, as if searching his thoughts. Then she gestured toward a seat before the dais. A low cushion hovered in midair, held aloft by hidden grav fields. Jaden moved forward and knelt on the cushion, keeping his back straight and his eyes on the floor. "Rise, Ambassador," the queen commanded softly. Jaden stood. She extended both hands, palms up. From her fingertips glowed a slender light thread that wove itself into a small holoprojector. A three-dimensional image appeared between them. A tiny child's face with human features and Tylarian eyes. Jaden's breath caught. The child looked peaceful, but Jaden saw a troubled line across the forehead in the scan. The queen's voice trembled for the first time. "This is my heir," she said, "and he is dying." A sharp gasp ran through the courtiers. Jaden clenched his fists to still them. The queen held the image steady. Jaden's mind raced. Half-human blood, a royal child, a sudden illness. He steadied his breath. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "tell me what I can do." The Queen's onyx eyes glimmered with relief and sorrow. "Stand with me, human," she replied, "and save my son." Jaden knelt on the hovering cushion as the Queen pressed two slender fingers together. A soft whir filled the hall. From beneath her throne, a small black case slid forward, moving like a silent spider across the marble floor. Jaden's breath caught. He rose and bowed before picking it up. The case was cool and smooth, etched with tiny Xylarian runes that pulsed faintly. Jaden turned it over in his hands, curiosity and dread twisting in his chest. The Queen's voice broke the hush. "Open it, Ambassador." He found a hidden clasp and released it. The case split, revealing a holopad cradled within. As Jaden lifted the pad, light bloomed into a three-dimensional grid of medical scans. He hovered his finger above the pad, and the images shifted. Bones, organs, veins mapped out in glowing lines. Jaden's eyes widened as he recognized human anatomy intertwined with alien structures. In one scan, a tiny heart, half human, half Xylarian, beat against dark space. In another, the child's face emerged. Soft human features framed by almond-shaped Xylarian eyes. A single tear streaked down Jaden's cheek unbidden. The courtiers leaned forward, but none dared speak. Jaden met the Queen's gaze. Her pale face was calm, but her eyes held deep sorrow. She spoke softly. "This is my heir, Prince Xylar. He lives because of human blood, but he will die without it." Jaden's mind spun. "My blood," he whispered. She inclined her head. "Your species' immune system has antibodies that can stabilize his hybrid genes. The royal physicians lack that gift. Only you can grant him hope." The weight of her words pressed on Jaden's shoulders. He looked down at the holopad still glowing in his hands. The scans showed degeneration in the child's livers and lungs, areas where human cells should have helped him grow strong. Instead, those organs darkened like dying stars. Jaden swallowed hard. I want to help," he managed. The Queen's shoulders eased for the first time. "I knew you would, but we must act quickly and in secret. If the court learns that my heir is half human, there will be war. You must come tonight to the royal clinic. My best surgeons await your guidance." He nodded. "Tell me where." The hidden panel in the dais slid open, revealing a small doorway lit by a single lantern. "Follow the corridor beneath the throne," she said. "You will find a stairwell to the clinic. I trust your care." Jaden bowed once more, his heart pounding with urgency. He glanced back at the holopad, its light dancing across his uniform. The images of Prince Xylar's weakening body echoed in his mind. He knew the journey ahead would test every skill he had. Yet he felt a fierce determination rising inside him. As he turned to leave, the Queen's voice softened. "Remember, Ambassador, humanity's future lies not just on Earth, but here as well." Jaden stepped through the hidden doorway, the case tucked under his arm, and a new purpose burning in his chest. The fate of two worlds now rested on his shoulders. Jaden hurried down the narrow corridor beneath the throne. The air was cool and smelled faintly of antiseptic. Soft lights glowed along the walls, guiding his steps. Every footfall echoed as he carried the black case tight against his chest. His heart thumped in his ears. He felt the weight of the Queen's trust, more than any metal or stone. With each step, Jaden's mind drifted back to the Battle of Viridian. He remembered the smoke, the fire, and the panic. A Xylarian convoy had been ambushed by rebels bent on wiping out their allies. Human soldiers had come to help, just one small squad against a storm of enemy fire. Jaden had heard their stories in childhood, told by old veterans who still bore scars. He saw the human officer who led that rescue. Captain Harris stood tall on the deck of the lead transport. He barked orders and waved his sidearm to hold the attackers back. Shells exploded around him, but he never wavered. He turned to cover the retreat of Xylarian medics carrying wounded civilians. Jaden could almost hear the captain's voice calling, "Go. I've got your back." That hero saved dozens of lives that day. But after the battle, the captain vanished. Some said he fell in the final blast. Others whispered that he stayed behind to disable a reactor and never made it out. Rumors even claimed he and a young Silurian doctor had grown close in that chaos. Years later, whispered tales said the doctor had given birth to a child with human eyes and strange strength. Jaden pressed on, suddenly sure of the truth. The child in the holoscan, Prince Siler, must be that doctor's offspring. That brave Captain Harris was Siler's father. No wonder the Queen called for a human. The child's bloodline was half human. Jaden felt both pride and sorrow. Pride that humanity had helped an alien people so long ago. Sorrow that the captain's legacy had been kept secret, even from his own homeworld. He drew a deep breath and straightened his uniform. The corridor ended at a heavy steel door, marked with the Tylarian crest, a lotus of crystal petals. Jaden paused and laid a hand on the cool metal. Beyond this door lay the royal clinic where the court's best surgeons waited. He could almost hear the soft hiss of life support systems through the frame. Jaden knocked once, then twice. A panel slid open, revealing a pair of violet eyes studying him in silence. A soft click followed, and the door swung inward. Jaden lifted the black case and stepped inside. The smell of fresh herbs and medical oils filled his nose. He set the case on a low table and opened it with steady fingers. As the door closed behind him, Jaden's mind stayed on the past and the man who had given his life for strangers. Now it was Jaden's turn to repay that gift. He lifted his head, met the waiting surgeon's eyes, and spoke in clear, calm tones. "Show me Prince Siler." Jaden stood beside the Royal Clinic's central chamber. The walls were white and smooth, and soft lights glowed overhead. In the center lay Prince Siler on a biobid. The child's pale chest rose and fell in slow, weak breaths. Jaden felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Head surgeon Palik knelt by the bed, adjusting thin tubes that fed the prince nutrients. Palik looked up at Jaden. "His hybrid heart is failing," she said. "Only human antibodies can repair the damage." Jaden swallowed. He glanced at the small face of the prince. One eyelid fluttered as if in a dream. Then the heavy doors opened, and the alien queen entered. She moved with quiet grace, her violet robe trailing behind her. She paused at the foot of the bed and folded her hands. Jaden bowed his head. He waited, heart pounding. The queen's face was calm, but her eyes shone with sorrow. "Ambassador," she said softly, "I must tell you the full truth." Jaden looked up. "Your Majesty," he asked. She took a slow step forward. "Prince Siler is my only child and your countryman's son." Jaden's breath caught. He stared at the queen. "He is the child of Captain Liam Harris," she continued, "the brave human who led the rescue at Viridian. He was my ally and my friend. He fell protecting our convoy, but I learned later that he did not die. He stayed behind to save my people." Jaden's mind reeled. He remembered the stories of Captain Harris, how he had faced armies to cover the retreat of Silurian medics. He had presumed the captain died. That memory flashed in Jaden's mind. Harris's steady voice, his determined eyes, the moment he held the line alone. The queen's voice trembled for the first time. "Harris and I, we shared a bond. He gave his blood to help my army. In return, I gave him hope. Our union brought life to Prince Siler. But human cells in his body fight against Tylarian genes. Without fresh human antibodies, he will not survive." Jaden bowed his head in respect. "Your Majesty, I am honored you trusted me with this secret." She nodded. "I have few allies here. If the court learns of Siler's human blood, they will see him as a traitor. A child of two worlds must remain hidden. Now, only you can save him." Jaden squared his shoulders. He turned to Palik. "Show me how to proceed," he said. Palak rose and guided him to a small lab table where a clean vial sat waiting. The queen followed, her gaze gentle on Jaden. Palak explained the procedure in simple steps. Jaden would donate his own blood. They would extract key antibodies and blend them into a serum. She pointed to a machine that looked like a small glass tank filled with swirling blue liquid. Jaden knelt beside the tank. He saw his reflection in the glass. He thought of Captain Harris and the chance to save the boy who carried his legacy. His hand trembled as he prepared to give. The queen placed a hand on Jaden's shoulder. "You carry both our hopes," she whispered. Jaden met her eyes and nodded. He turned to the instrument and prepared himself. As the first few drops of his blood fell into the machine, Jaden prayed silently. The fate of two worlds rode on this moment. Jaden stepped out of the clinic into a silent corridor. The soft hum of life support systems faded behind him. His uniform bore faint stains from the blood transfer, and his heart still raced with the memory of the Queen's plea. He carried the empty vial back to Chief Surgeon Palak, who nodded in thanks. Jaden felt relief that Prince Siler's condition had improved, but a new tension clutched at him. He knew the court's balance of power was fragile. Any whisper of a half-human hair could shatter it. In the palace's shadow council chamber, a small group of high courtiers gathered. Lord Velen, the first chancellor, paced before a carved obsidian table. His voice was low but sharp. "The Queen hides a human child among us," he hissed. "This affront cannot stand. We must act before her weakness destroys our empire." Across from him, Lady Cyril tapped her fingers. "We will move under cover of night," she said. "Seize the boy and force the Queen to abdicate. If she resists, we claim regent's rule in her stead." No one spoke against them. News of the conspiracy reached Jaden within the hour. A young guard he had befriended slipped him a note. "Meet me at the north stairwell. Urgent." Jaden followed the guard through twisting passages lit by violet lanterns. At a sharp turn, two armored figures stepped from the shadows. Their visors hid their faces. "Ambassador," one said, voice cold, "you have helped the Queen betray our race. Come with us to account." Jaden's chest tightened. He stood firm. He raised his hands in calm surrender. "I will go with you," Jaden said, "but only to see the Queen. I owe her my honesty." The guards hesitated. Orders were orders, but Jaden's calm courage gave them pause. He spoke softly of the child's suffering and how the Queen's bond with humanity had saved lives before. He reminded them of the ancient Treaty of Viridian, signed by humans and Tylerians side by side. Their leader lowered his weapon. "Perhaps we act too quickly," he muttered. With a nod, he backed away, and the other guard followed. Jaden exhaled, feeling both relief and sorrow. He knew his words had not won them over forever, but they had bought him time. By the time Jaden returned to the clinic, the first pale light of dawn crept through high windows. Prince Siler lay sleeping, his chest rising with steady strength. The Queen stood beside the biobed, her hand resting on the child's forehead. Jaden approached and bowed his head. "My Queen, a faction plans to seize your son," he said quietly. "They believe your trust in humanity is a betrayal." The Queen's onyx eyes flashed with sorrow and resolve. "Then we will show them unity," she replied. She placed her free hand on Jaden's shoulder. "We must stand together, human, for Siler's sake, and for peace." Jaden straightened. He met her gaze and nodded. Outside, palace corridors hummed with a new purpose. Jaden knew the battle ahead would be as much political as medical. Yet he felt a fierce determination. He would protect the Queen and her heir, no matter the cost. Jaden stood in the palace courtyard as the first light touched the marble columns. A great crowd had gathered, courtiers, guards, and common servants alike. All eyes were on the human envoy. The Queen stood at the raised dais, her violet robe flowing behind her. She spoke in a clear voice that carried through the air. "Today," she declared, "we test the gift of human blood." A panel beside the dais slid open to reveal a clear dome. Inside lay a thin layer of the planet's native air, an atmosphere known to be mildly toxic to non-humans. Jaden's heart pounded as his escort led him forward. He wore only his envoy uniform, without helmet or mask. Gas meters and vitals monitors stood ready around the dome. Jaden bowed to the Queen, then stepped inside. The dome doors closed with a soft hiss. A faint green haze filled the chamber. Jaden drew a deep breath. His lungs burned, but he held his stance. He kept his arms at his sides and stood tall. Around him, the crowd leaned forward. Some faces showed fear, others showed hope. Jaden thought of Captain Harris and the child in the clinic. He forced his mind back to his training. He breathed slowly. In his mind, he counted each pulse of his heart. A circle of monitors recorded his oxygen levels, blood pressure, and toxin readings. Jaden focused on keeping his voice steady. He spoke aloud a simple phrase in Tylerian. "I stand with honor." His voice rang clear in the dome. Outside, the crowd gasped at his calm. Minutes passed. Then 10 minutes. Jaden's chest tightened. Sweat formed on his brow. Yet he did not falter. He shifted his weight from foot to foot to ease the ache in his legs. He whispered to himself, one breath at a time. Each breath felt sharp, but his lungs held strong. The monitors showed stable vitals. Half an hour in, the Queen's voice echoed through the dome's speakers. 5 more minutes. Jaden nodded to no one. He closed his eyes and remembered home. Blue skies, green fields. He thought of his family on Earth and of the promise he made to the Queen. He felt energy surge through his veins. At the end of the trial, the dome doors slid open. Fresh air rushed in. Jaden stepped out. Arms lifted just once in thanks. The crowd erupted in cheers. Guards knelt. Courtiers wept with relief. Jaden's face was pale, but his eyes shone. He bowed deeply to the Queen, who smiled with pride. The first Chancellor, Lord Velen, stepped forward. His face was grave until he saw Jaden unharmed. He lowered his head. "The human gift is true," he admitted. Whispers of conspiracy died on the spot. Jaden felt both relief and triumph. He had shown that human blood could stand the Xylarian test. As he turned to the Queen, he knew the court now saw him not as a foreign envoy, but as a bridge between two worlds. Jaden entered the royal clinic at dawn. Palak and her team stood ready by a large holo table. On its surface lay vials of the serum made from Jaden's blood. The team had worked through the night to refine the mixture. Jaden felt both hope and fear. He knew the child's life depended on this moment. The Queen stood beside the biobed, her violet robe trailing on the floor. Prince Siler lay pale and still. Monitors beeped softly, each tone a reminder of the boy's fragile state. Jaden knelt and studied the child's face. He placed a steady hand on Siler's shoulder. The Queen's eyes glistened with worry and trust. Palak spoke in calm, clear tones. "We must inject the serum now," she said. "His heart is weakening. We have a small window." Jaden nodded. He took the injector from her gloved hand. The needle was thin and long, designed to deliver the serum deep into the prince's veins. Jaden's hand trembled once, then stilled as he remembered his duty. He pressed the needle to the boy's arm. The skin was soft and warm. He held his breath. Then he pushed gently on the plunger. A pale blue liquid flowed into Siler's vein. Instantly, the child's chest gave a small shiver. Monitors flashed as the serum spread through his body. Jaden watched the numbers rise. Oxygen level, blood pressure, heart rate. Each gain gave him hope. Outside the clinic, guards stood at silent attention. News of the procedure had reached the palace at once. If the prince survived, the court's split over the Queen's choice would heal. But if he failed, Silarian law demanded swift punishment. Jaden felt the weight of two worlds on his shoulders. Inside, the monitors beeped faster. Palak's brow furrowed. "His heart is still weak," she said. "We need a booster dose." Jaden turned to her. "Prepare it," he said. Palak mixed another vial in record time. Jaden held Siler's hand gently. The prince's eyes fluttered open. He saw Jaden's face and gave a faint smile. Jaden felt tears sting his own eyes. With Palak's help, Jaden gave the booster. More serum flowed in. Now the monitors began to climb steadily. The child's breathing eased. His cheeks flushed with new color. A cheer broke from the team. Jaden let out a breath he did not know he held. He looked at the queen. Relief shone in her eyes. Siler reached out and grasped Jaden's finger. His grip was weak but sure. Jaden knelt and placed his forehead against the boy's hand. His heart felt full. The queen stepped forward and laid a gentle hand on Siler's head. She whispered thanks in a voice trembling with joy. Jaden rose and faced the team. "He will live," he said softly. The clinic filled with quiet celebration. News would spread fast. Humanity had saved the Silurian heir. As the sun rose outside the tall windows, Jaden knew a new dawn had come for both worlds. Sunlight poured through the tall windows of the throne hall as Jaden stood beside the queen's crystal dais. The air buzzed with whispers and soft music played by a hidden orchestra. Courtiers removed their masks, revealing faces filled with wonder and respect. Jaden adjusted his envoy sash and bowed deeply to the queen. She rose from her throne, her violet robe shimmering in the light. In her arms, Prince Siler cooed softly, now healthy and alert. His bright human smile and Silurian eyes shone with life. Jaden felt a swell of pride. The child reached out and touched the queen's cheek, then looked at Jaden with curious eyes. The queen held Jaden's gaze and smiled. She spoke firmly, her voice carrying through the hall. "Today we witness a new era. Humanity and Silurian blood flow together in my son. Let this bond guide our future." A murmur of agreement rose from the assembled court. Lord Velen, the first chancellor, who had once plotted against the heir, stepped forward and knelt. He bowed his head to Jaden. "Ambassador, your courage saved our lineage and our empire. We are in your debt." Jaden offered his hand, and Velen rose, a sign of true reconciliation. The queen motioned to a raised balcony, where Silurian and human flags fluttered side by side. Envoy ships from Earth and Silurian cruisers stood in formation beyond the palace walls, their crews cheering in unison. Jaden glanced upward, imagining those distant cheers. The ceremony continued as the queen placed a small medallion around Siler's neck. The symbol combined Earth's spiral emblem with the Silurian crystal lotus. It gleamed brightly, a promise of unity. Jaden felt the weight of the moment. He thought of Captain Harris and the sacrifice that had led to this day. A tear slipped down his cheek. After the formalities, the crowd dispersed into the palace gardens. Jaden walked beside the queen and her son. Silver fountains sparkled, and alien flowers bloomed in radiant hues. Siler reached for Jaden's hand. Jaden knelt and let the child sit on his knee. The queen watched them, her eyes soft with gratitude. "You have done more than heal them," she said quietly. "You have healed 2 worlds." Jaden smiled. "Your Majesty, it was my honor." Later, as festivities filled the palace, Jaden stood on the envoy ship's bridge. He prepared a message for Earth's leaders. The Silurian Empire and humanity stand together. A new alliance is born. He activated the comlink, and his words carried across the stars. Below, the palace glowed like a beacon of hope. Jaden watched Prince Siler playing with a young Silurian courtier. Laughter rang out, a sound both human and alien. Jaden knew the road ahead would bring challenges, but he felt confident. The future of both peoples was brighter than any star. As the ship lifted off, Jaden took one last look at the citadel. He whispered, "For Harris, for Siler, and for all of us." The stars welcomed him home, and behind him, on a distant world, a queen and her son prepared to write their shared legacy.